That historic ABC News town hall with Pope Francis, the first ever, his humility, his humor, his tolerance. And there was a moment, if you remember, that he asked a saddened little girl during our town hall to sing in front of millions watching. And what's happened to her since?
Pope Francis was known as the People's Pope, a window into his humility evident from the moment the world met him on that balcony, wearing white, a simple cassock, by choice.
Buonasera.
Pope Francis greeting the world with a simple buonasera, good evening. Then a humble bow to the faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square. And with a limousine waiting, he instead chose to ride in a van with some of the very cardinals who had just named him Pope. He returned to the hotel to pay the bill himself. He would sometimes ride in a Ford Focus, telling priests and nuns to drive humble cars. Pope Francis in that open-air Popemobile, famously asking for it not to be covered, to be able to reach out to the faithful. He was the first Jesuit Pope and the first Pope from Latin America. He was born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the son of Italian immigrants. He grew up in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Despite that early setback as a teenager, the infection that claimed part of his lung, this was a young man full of life and a passion for philosophy, dancing. He was a soccer fan in Argentina. He would study to become a chemist before answering the call to serve, becoming a priest at 32. He would lead by example. As a cardinal, he sold off the church mansion, cooked his own meals, and rode the subway while helping the poor. So it only seemed fitting that the new pope would take his name from St. Francis of Assisi, who dedicated his life to caring for the poor, the first pope to take that name. Pope Francis would try to modernize the church, focused on people on the periphery, and through tolerance, hoping to welcome more into the Catholic Church.
Before creating the world,
Dios amaba.
God loved.
Porque Dios es amor.
Because God is love.
Instead of washing the feet of fellow priests on Holy Thursday, an ancient ritual, Pope Francis chose prisoners, including young people, women, and Muslims. When Catholics from around the world wrote him letters about their troubles, he was known to call some of them on the phone and offer prayer and guidance. His deep personal connection to the faithful, the sick, on full display through the years, and he was accessible, often willing to stop for a selfie. His reach was extraordinary, traveling to more than 60 countries. In Rio, millions flocking to Mass on Copacabana Beach, 3 million worshipers would come see him. He would work toward a more inclusive church. Francis called for a larger role for women with a series of firsts, giving a woman a vote in the Senate of Bishops, appointing a woman to oversee the Vatican city-state. He would root out corruption at the Vatican Bank, and he would express compassion for the LGBTQ community. From the very beginning, when asked about gay priests during his first in-flight press conference,
Chi sono io per giudicarla?
he answered, "Who am I to judge?" And he would permit priests to bless same-sex couples, a seismic change in Vatican policy.
Somos todos hijos de Dios.
We are all children of God, he said. At the Vatican, he met privately with victims of sex abuse by the clergy. And he would speak openly through the years about climate change. In 2015, his visit to the United States, the first pope to address a joint meeting of Congress.
I am most grateful for your invitation to address this joint session of Congress in the land of the free at the home of the brave.
And it was on the eve of that U.S. visit, Pope Francis was the first pope to ever agree to a town hall with American television. We will never forget quietly waiting outside this door, inside the closed walls of the Vatican. We were not far from the Pope's residence, famously choosing to forego the grand papal apartment. We were told in a moment the doors would open, that the Pope would emerge. Instead, the door opened and they waved me inside. The Pope asking for a moment to meet with me before the cameras began to roll. And then our walk to our historic ABC News town hall with Pope Francis. I had agreed to conduct the town hall in Spanish. And as we head into the room, a smile from Pope Francis. He was surprised at the scope of the crew, and he knew our cameras were also in 3 cities from Chicago to Los Angeles to McAllen, Texas. We began the town hall.
Su Santidad, es un gran honor
Families and young people gathered at locations across the country, Pope Francis taking their questions, and they shared their pain, their struggles. There was Valerie Herrera, 17 at the time, from Chicago, who struggled with a rare skin disorder her entire life. She told the Pope she turned to music to survive the bullying. And after her tears in front of the Pope, an unexpected request from Pope Francis, and he delivered his request in English.
Valerie, I would like to hear you singing. May I ask of you to sing a song for me?
Sure.
What? Go on.
Okay.
Be courageous.
This song is in Spanish, so. Quiero que me eduques, que me enseñes a rezar. Hazme transparente, lléname de paz.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
After that moment, I turned to Pope Francis, saying a song for the Pope in front of the world, that's difficult.
Una canción para el Papa es difícil.
And tonight, right here, Valerie, who is now 26 and a nurse outside Chicago, telling us what that moment with the Pope did for her.
When he's asked me to sing for him, his very warming and welcoming smile. Whenever I think about Pope Francis, it's the face that I have in my head. That is the face that I will always remember.
And I remember in that final moment with the Pope, asking him if he had a message for Americans back home watching.
Do you have a message for America before your visit, a parting message?
Que rezo por ustedes.
The Pope saying, I'm praying for all of you, the people of the United States, and I ask you to pray for me. An extraordinary moment for all of us here at ABC News to experience that with Pope Francis, and how powerful to hear from Valerie all these years later. Now, tomorrow night in prime time, an ABC News special, Francis, the People's Pope, 10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, and then streaming on Hulu and Disney+. And later this week, I'll be traveling to Rome for the funeral once we know when the funeral will be held, and then we'll be there, of course, for the conclave as well. So we hope you'll stay with ABC News.